Meet Shannon Purser, who first won hearts as Barb in Stranger Things, earning an Emmy nomination and a devoted fan base. Beyond acting, Shannon is making waves with her soulful music, showcasing emotional depth and authenticity. Her latest single reflects growth and healing, marking a bold new chapter in her artistic journey. Now, let's explore the mind of Shannon.
Shannon, who are you and what do you do?
Hi, I am Shannon Purser. I'm an actor, and I'm also a songwriter and a writer in general.
Barb became a fan obsession and Stranger Things blew up overnight. Did you see any of that coming, or were you just hoping not to die in the Hawkins pool?
No, I did not see any of that coming at all. Stranger Things was my first professional acting job, so I was just so excited to be there. Like, the thought of actually being on TV was just kind of this like figment in my imagination, this thing that could like never possibly happen. And so if I fully thought that people would totally forget about Barb and not care about her at all, and I was fine with that. I was just like so happy to be there. And people do ask me a lot if I'm like sad that I died, but the death scene was like one of my favorite scenes to film. It was really fun. So no, I'm glad that I got to like go out with a bang.
Advice for kids chasing big screen dreams.
Gosh, I think honestly to be an artist of any kind, you have to be a little maybe delusional, but also like have a huge amount of self-confidence. And I guess what really excites me about like the art that I'm making, particularly in music, because it's something that I didn't think I would be able to succeed at, or that I would even be able to make something that I was proud of, is just like to encourage young people to value their own voice, to value their own artistic ability, to know that you don't have to be perfect at something to make something that you're proud of and that feels meaningful and beautiful to you. It's so hard, especially I think maybe particularly in acting, but also in music. You really have to kind of fight for people to see your worth. I would say step one is just to find that worth within yourself and to hold on to it, because I think that that kind of self-confidence is infectious and people in power pick up on that.
What sparked your love for making music?
I've loved music like my whole life. My parents are both very musical people. Like we were playing music all the time, listening to music. I grew up on like the oldies, grew up on like Karen Carpenter and ELO and Boston and like Jim Croce and like all the like good oldies and stuff. And I've also loved writing, whether that be like prose or like narrative stories or, you know, music ever since I was a kid. And yeah, for some reason, music was something that I always talked myself out of. Like I was like, okay, I know that I have a good singing voice, but I don't think I could ever be a songwriter. And then one day I just decided to try and not judge myself too much and like put something out there. And I've been kind of in love with it ever since.
How does songwriting compare to acting?
I mean, I think songwriting and acting are both like storytelling, which is something that I've always loved. I remember I got like in huge trouble in I think second grade because I wouldn't stop telling the other kids scary stories. And I was like at a Christian school and they were like, you have to stop doing that. And I got in trouble. I will never forgive Mrs. Weidman for that. But yeah, I think, I don't know, there's something so compelling about it. I think, you know, before we had, I don't know, even access to like the written word, that was how we passed on history and traditions and mythology was storytelling. I think it's so incredible that we can use original creative ideas to make something new, but also like convey these sort of universal truths with each other. I think no matter what I do, like career-wise, it will be somehow related to storytelling.
What kind of music would you love to release next?
I don't know. I've had a few people, and by a few people, I mean like my little sister, who I'm like very excited likes my music because I think that she has like good taste and she's cool. And I feel like if your little sister likes what you're doing, then you're probably like doing pretty good. And she texted me the other day and was just like, when are you gonna put out an album? And I was like, I don't know. It's a little, that's like kind of the next step on the ladder of the thing that I'm like psyching myself up into like getting brave enough to do, would be to like to write a full album. But so far with like Sister Seer, which is my like musical project, I've kind of just been like waiting for inspiration. So a song that I released last year is called Bogman. It's about like the bog bodies that they find in peat bogs that have like been preserved over thousands of years. And then this song that I'm releasing this Friday, which is called Leave Good Ending, is inspired by Silent Hill 2, which is a horror video game. And so it really is so varied, like what really inspires me. And I guess I'm just, I don't know, I love that feeling of being so compelled to make art inspired by other art or history or anything. So whatever I release next, I think it'll just be something that I'm really excited about and something that feels unique to me.
What inspired you to release your single Leave, Good Ending, on your birthday?
I actually debated for a hot second when I would release this song. And then it kind of worked out that it would like be a good time in terms of like, I don't know, I don't really like totally know all the logistics of like the music biz. I'm very new to all of this, but there's definitely like, I don't know, like days of the week or whatever that it's more like the algorithm like supports better. I don't know about any of that. But then I, kind of thought about it, and I thought there was something really special about the idea of like releasing something that I'm very proud of, that I feel kind of like marks an evolution in my abilities as an artist and like my path as an artist on my birthday. I really feel like I have done a lot of like growing, like inner work, I guess, over this last year. And so it feels fitting that I'm kind of like entering this new sort of cycle in my life with a new piece of art that I think shares a side of me that I'm, excited to share.
How does this song reflect where you are in life right now?
I don't know. I mean, like, I played the song for my friend, and she was like, "Are you okay?" The song is very dark, actually, because it is inspired by a horror video game. But the reason that it's called Leave Good Ending, if you play the game, and I'm getting way into like gamer lore, there are different endings that you get depending on your choices that you make in the game. And so this particular ending that I'm writing about is very painful, but it is also called the good ending because this main character basically faces his demons head on and leaves a better version of himself. And the more that I think about it, the more I think that that actually is, I don't know, something that's kind of personal to me. I've definitely like had a lot of mental health like struggles in my life. I feel like I've grown a lot as a person and overcome a lot of like personal difficulties. I've been in therapy for like over a decade. Highly recommend it if you haven't tried it. And yeah, I think that I kind of have like faced some of my darkness head on, and it is good. It's painful, but it's good. And I think that that's kind of a theme across all the art that I make. Is like sometimes you have to look the scary thing in the eye to heal.
You're known for emotional depth. Did writing this feel more like therapy or storytelling?
That's very nice. I'm like known for emotional depth. I think writing this song, when I don't know, I've thought about this lately with songwriting specifically, how I tend to write songs from the perspective of other characters. Like this song is from the perspective of James, who is kind of like the main protagonist in Silent Hill 2. I think I find something kind of safe about that, where I'm like, okay, this isn't directly about me, and I find it very interesting kind of trying to like dive into the psyche of somebody else. But inevitably when you make art, even if it's about somebody else, it's like a reflection of you, and it's what you're kind of projecting onto that character or that idea. So it's both. Like when I wrote it, I think I was thinking, you know, very firmly in the mindset of this fictional character. But when I think back on why this art was so compelling to me, why this story was so compelling to me, it hits home for sure. All art, I think, has been very cathartic and therapeutic for me.
What's one lyric from the new single that hits you hardest?
Gosh, let me think about this. There's, in this particular ending in the video game, the character is in Silent Hill, which is like this kind of eerie, abandoned town. He's looking for his wife, who he believed had passed away, but she's like kind of contacting him somehow. Towards the end of the game, he's in like this beautiful, grand old hotel that he and his wife went on to like vacation with in the past. And then after, he kind of has this big final moment of like confronting what he has done and who he is head on. The entire hotel, he kind of like sees it for what it is, and it's like rotting and it's falling apart. It's kind of like that moment of truth of, yeah, really taking in reality as it is. And so I think those like final few lines of the song, where it says, I can see things as they are now, crumbling plaster, rotten wood. I will lay my weapons down now. I will leave this place for good. And I think it's kind of just like, yeah, it's so difficult, the process of healing. And sometimes you really have to be willing to face reality to move into a better reality.
How has heartbreak shaped your sound?
I mean, it's kind of everything, unfortunately. I'm like just a very sensitive person, and I definitely have been through my share of heartbreak, whether it's, you know, romantic or just like in my platonic relationships. And I think it's just, you know, part of the human condition. Yeah, I write a lot about grief and loss, I think, because those emotions are so difficult and heavy for everyone, and it's just been kind of a consistent thing for me in my life to use art as like a way to process them and like cope with them, and also kind of like exercise them. But I've also found that like when I am going through these hard moments, I also turn to other people's art as like a source of like comfort or understanding. And so, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of honored that I get to contribute to that, you know, maybe somebody who is feeling these really heavy things and feels misunderstood or feels isolated in those feelings could like look to my art and maybe feel seen. That's kind of a big goal for me.
What's something you can express in music that acting never allowed?
Acting is such a weird like thing. It's a weird career where like you are generally, unless you're like writing your own material, like using the words and the story and the character that somebody else created for you. And I think if you're a good actor, you're able to find like, you know, your inner truth and authenticity to add to that, which is, I mean, definitely what I tried to do. And there have definitely been projects that I've worked on where it's like, oh, somebody else wrote this, but it feels like something I could have written. It feels so true to me. And I love that. But the thing that's really like refreshing to me about music and songwriting is that I really feel so much creative like freedom and autonomy to speak from my heart and to write about the things that are really interesting to me. And it feels like vulnerable in that way that, you know, maybe acting doesn't in quite the same way, I guess, but it feels also like really empowering to get to make my art totally like on my terms.
Is stepping into the music spotlight scarier or more freeing than acting?
I think making music, and I haven't ever like toured or like performed my music really anywhere, so maybe I would feel differently about that. But the process for making music has been very nice and like intimate and safe. On this song, I worked with my friend who's a great producer and musician, Jack Mullen, and it was just like him and me basically collaborating on the whole song. I wrote the lyrics like by myself, and recording was like a very chill process with just the two of us. And so I don't find it scary, actually. I have definitely found acting scary in the past, but less so because of like the work itself, and more because there is just like a whole culture of like celebrity, whether you're like famous really or not, around acting, where there are a lot of eyes on you, there's a lot of scrutiny. I like to think that I've like gotten more comfortable with that as I've gotten older. But it is really nice to like get to make music without all these eyes on me, and to like really own it and feel secure in that process. Acting can be freeing too, but it's a different energy.
What artists or songs were on repeat while making this track?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I don't know if there were any artists that I was like really actively listening to, but when I think about artists that I love that like inspire me in terms of storytelling, I think kind of the first one that comes to mind is Kate Bush. Like Cloud Busting is one of my favorite songs. And that's literally like a true story about a young boy and his father, and like the weird sort of scientific work that he's up to that's kind of illegal. It's like, it's so cool. I really relate to the idea of like hearing something or like hearing a story, whether it's nonfiction or fiction, and feeling really compelled to write something and to like make art inspired by that art. So yeah, I guess I wasn't really like listening to her a lot while I was working on this song, but I think she and I have like a similar like methodology, I guess.
How do you want fans to feel after listening to this song?
It's so like, well, okay. It is a dark kind of like material, but I do think that the overall tone and what really stuck with me about playing the game was that you do go through this really kind of like heavy, dark, intense journey. And then in the end, if you get this ending, which is the ending that I got when I played it, there's this feeling of like resignation, but not resignation that's hopeless, like a hopeful resignation where you have accepted the reality of your situation, you have faced it head on, and because you've done that, you can like finally move forward and like move into something better. And so I guess that I would hope that, I don't know, people who listen to it are able to like move through difficult things or difficult feelings, and, you know, take the time to maybe feel all of it in its intensity and recognize that there is like a brighter path forward if they're brave enough to take it.
If Barb could hear your new music, what do you think she'd say?
Gosh, I don't know. I actually don't know if she would. I don't know if it would be totally her speed. I feel like she might appreciate the like lyricism, but I think that she's a little bit more like pop rock. I think she's like a bit more upbeat.
What's your weirdest flex? Something you're strangely proud of.
My weirdest flex? I mean, I did thumb wrestle Adam Sandler one time, and I will never forget that. And I won. So yeah, that's a flex, I guess.
You've admitted before that singing is terrifying. How have you overcome that fear, seeing as you're dropping a new single on Friday?
Singing is kind of, well, it can be terrifying for sure. It's very vulnerable. Like, I mean, I guess you could make a huge effort to change your sound to like please other people, but I'd say by and large, your voice is kind of your voice, and if people don't like it, then they don't like it. And I don't know, I think because I got into the acting industry pretty young, I was like 18, I was going through this very like sort of vulnerable time of like adolescence and entering adulthood with kind of all these eyes on me. And I think I was just really scared that like, I don't know, I think I was really intimidated by the idea of putting out music and not even having kind of like the safety of playing a character to like hide behind, like to really own, these are my words, this is my art, this is my story that I'm choosing to tell. But I don't know, I think as I've grown older, as I've like done a lot of work with myself and myself, I've become a lot more confident, and the art that I love, the art that inspires me, is always from people who are kind of fearless and unapologetic in expressing themselves. And to be honest, I like don't really care if like my art is hugely popular. Like, you don't even have to like it. But I do hope that it feels sincere and original, and that it inspires people to want to make their own art.
You've been candid about OCD. How much does songwriting help you process that?
Gosh, yeah. I think it's helped me process every difficult thing in my life, whether it be OCD or, you know, other mental health struggles or things that I've been through. It's kind of how I feel about like journaling, which I feel like every therapist tells you to journal, and you're like, this is stupid, but it actually really does help to like put these feelings, these thoughts like into word, out into the universe in some way, some like tangible way. With OCD in particular, it's so like, it can be so isolating and so sort of like shameful, this like thing that you don't want to talk about, these like intrusive thoughts that feel so like private and scary and personal to you. But every time that I have been like brave and open enough to talk about these scary things, I've had like floods of people say like, wow, thank you for talking about this. I've felt this way too. I've experienced this too. It's meaningful to like hear somebody else talk about it. And so, I don't know, the older I get, the more I am just sort of like, there's no shame in vulnerability. In fact, I think that being vulnerable is maybe like the only way that we heal and grow, and art has been like a huge tool for me to do that.
You've teased a brand new single dropping on your 28th birthday, June 27th. What's the theme, and how does it build on your past tracks?
Yeah, I'm so excited. The song Leave Good Ending comes out on my birthday, which is wild, 28. I feel like I am leaving the 20s. I am like slowly entering my 30s, which I'm actually really excited about. I've always been like kind of a real like grandma of like a person in my brain, and so I feel like the older I get, the more natural it feels, where I'm like, okay, I was meant to be like an old lady. Yeah, I'm really excited to like release this on my birthday, because it does kind of feel like I'm like marking this new cycle, this new year, this new like evolution in my life. The theme of the song, yeah, is kind of about like taking stock of your past, taking stock of like your mistakes and the things that you want to carry forward with you and the things that you want to leave behind you. And that definitely like resonates with me. You know, the older I get, the more I'm like, okay, I need to lock in. Like, I need to like really think about the person that I want to be, the things that serve me and the things that don't serve me anymore. I guess in terms of like how the theme works with like my other writing, I mean, I tend to definitely ruminate a lot on like the passing of time and like the nature of existence. I do feel like this is kind of in keeping with the theme, but strangely, I feel like this song is maybe even like more hopeful than my other single, Bogman, because this song ultimately is saying like, we've like gone through the boss fight. We did the big scary thing, and now like we move forward into the light. And I hope that, I don't know, all the art that I make has the message where like no matter how dire or dark or intense things get, like there can be a better future if you're willing to face it.
Bogman came from a meme gone wild. What meme inspired your new track, and did you go full bedroom pop or epic orchestral?
Bogman was inspired by a meme. My friend sent me a meme about like just wanting to live in a bog, and I was like, so true. I do want to live in a bog, but also I've always been like really fascinated by these mummified bog bodies that are found preserved over thousands of years, and it really inspired me to like kind of think about, like what must it be like to like have these like remnants of a life from thousands of years ago, and how different were those people from us, and what does that mean? There wasn't really a meme that inspired this one. It was pretty much just like directly the game Silent Hill 2 that inspired me. But it is cool that, I don't know, there's truly no way. I think that's why I'm a little like skeptical that I'm gonna like come out with an album anytime soon, because I have no idea what prompts me to like create. I just find these random things and it really inspires me to write. But yeah, it was cool. I feel like with this track in particular, I was a little bit like more intentional, like more involved with the process of like kind of being there every step of the way, and we like sourced some original sounds from the games, which I love. There's definitely like kind of Easter eggs if you listen for them, definitely in the lyrics too. Like I think if you're familiar with the game, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. There's a line that's like, I hear the end in damning footsteps, dragging shame behind like dead weight. And that's literally just Pyramid Head. That's literally just like the loud thumping like Pyramid Head footsteps, and he's dragging this like giant sword behind him. So yeah, if you love the games, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, no, we didn't have like a crazy amount of instrumentation, but it was definitely fancier than like making a song in my bedroom on a laptop, which I have done before. It was really cool to kind of level up and make something a little more professional this time around.
Singing on camera or performing live, which terrifies you more?
Performing live. Performing live is scary, but as somebody who like loves theater and like grew up doing it and is kind of just now exploring doing more theater professionally, there really is like no other feeling like it. It is very electrifying, but the stakes feel higher for sure.
You were literally working at a movie theater when Stranger Things hit. What was the first fan interaction you had after quitting?
After quitting? I mean, it was kind of a fan interaction that like made me quit. And it wasn't like really like creepy or weird, although it felt a little weird at the time. Like I was getting off my shift at the movie theater in my uniform. I always like smelled like popcorn at the end of the day. And I'm just like walking back to my car, so excited to go home. And there were like 2 people waiting by my car to like ask me to either like sign something or like take a picture with them or whatever. And they were very nice. Like they weren't like accosting me, but like it was definitely kind of a wake up call where I was like, okay, maybe I should not just be at this movie theater anymore. Fan interactions after. I think the first fan interaction that like really stuck out to me was when somebody was like, are you Shannon Purser? Instead of just saying like, are you Barb? Because I'm like, oh, you know my name? Like, that's crazy.
Playing Barb earned you an Emmy nod. Did you ever imagine such recognition from just 3 episodes?
No, absolutely not. No. I was just like so happy to be there. Truly did not think anybody would like remember my character at all. So that was a huge shock, but also like, I don't know how many people get to say that they've lived through that. It was definitely like a singular experience.
Covering Jumpsuit by 21 Pilots got major fan hype. What drew you to that track?
Oh my God, wow. These are like deep cuts. Yeah, I was obsessed with 21 Pilots in high school. I loved that band so much. And like, shout out to them. They have some bangers for sure. Yeah, I think like right around when Stranger Things came out, I was like a huge fan, and I think they had just like released a new album at that time. And so, yeah, I think it's interesting. Like I've always been this person who like really feels the urge to perform and to like share my interests and my like talents, but I'm also very like kind of shy and reserved in some ways. And so a lot of times, like if you see me just like post a cover or whatever, it's kind of like purely out of desperation where I'm just like, I need to like do something. I need to like sing. Like I need people to know like that I can do this. I think that was kind of like the impetus behind it.
What's one myth fans still believe about OCD you wish you could debunk today?
I guess that like, I think when most people think of OCD, they think about like the compulsions that are kind of what people do, like the behavior that's in response to like these intrusive thoughts that are kind of the real sort of evil, I guess, of the OCD, the really like hard thing. And the compulsions are like very real, and I totally get that they can be like kind of strange to witness and like off-putting to be around. But I guess this is sort of just how I feel about like mental illness in general. It's so easy to judge people solely for their behavior or like to take their behavior at face value. I would like encourage anybody who has somebody in their life who is mentally ill to like be willing to be a little bit curious and to like ask people why they're doing the things that they're doing. I think a little empathy and understanding can really go a long way.
What's your go-to comfort movie when you've had a garbage day?
Recently I rewatched 10 Things I Hate About You. I love that movie. Oh my gosh. I feel like the early like 2000s, there was kind of like a really good like fun Y2K sort of like Shakespearean adaptations, and we need to get back to that. That's my hot take, and I want to be in them all, obviously.
If you had to live inside a video game for a week, which one are you choosing and why?
Definitely not Silent Hill. That's scary as hell. And I do not want to be like wandering around in the mist being chased by evil nurses in stilettos. Well, actually, okay. But like, what video game would I love to live in? I'm tempted to say Skyrim, but like actually I really would miss indoor plumbing and like not being eaten by dragons, I think. I'm playing Final Fantasy VII right now, so maybe like the Final Fantasy world is pretty cool cool. They have like cool tech and like weird creatures, but I think they also have air conditioning.
What's the most you item in your house? The one that screams your vibe.
This is a good question. The most you item in my house. I think it's probably, I have like this sort of like desk that's almost like an altar to like the people that I love. So I have like a photo of my sisters and I on there. I have a photo of my like grandmother who's passed away. I have like little trinkets and like a really beautiful old lamp that was in like my childhood home. That feels very like me. It's like a little like esoteric and weird, and if you saw it, you might be like, are you doing magic rituals there? Which sometimes, but also it's like very nostalgic and just a real representation of like the people that I love and the things I value.
What's a totally irrational fear that you'll never outgrow?
Oh my God. I have this like deep, like visceral phobia of like, what's the right word? My like ankle just like snapping. And so it like is actually kind of debilitating. Like I do not run downstairs. I'm afraid. I'm very scared of my ankle, not just like cracking or breaking, but like, so yeah, I don't think I'll ever outgrow that. Maybe I could, but I haven't so far.
What song instantly teleports you back to high school?
High school. Well, I had like a real emo phase in like middle and high school. So maybe anything like My Chemical Romance would probably bring me back. 21 Pilots for sure. 21 Pilots was like a big thing for me at that time. I was also listening to like a lot of Christian metal. It was a weird era. So probably anything in that genre too.
If your life had a theme song right now, what would it be?
Theme song. The first thing that came to mind, and this is not even a song that I like listen to regularly, is that nobody gonna break my stride, nobody gonna slow me down, got to keep on moving. Yeah, I feel like that one, that's kind of the vibe where I'm just like, keep going, dude, just like one day at a time.
Do you write lyrics in the Notes app, on napkins, or in your head while pretending to pay attention?
Notes app for sure. I have so much weird stuff in there. I just have like sentences. It'll be like bacon, eggs, broccoli, like grocery list, and then it'll be like, I'm all alone. No one understands me. It's like, yeah, it's chaotic.
What's a music genre you secretly love but never tell people about?
I mean, sometimes I do go back and listen to that Christian metal, and it kind of slaps, you know? Shredding for Jesus.
What was your childhood hyperfixation? Like full obsession?
Ooh. That's a good question. I feel like I had a lot. I was a big reader, so I feel like a lot of them were like book series. Like I was super into like Percy Jackson. I loved the Redwall books, which are like these like cottagecore like epics about anthropomorphic animals. Wow, I'm like really getting into it. Other hyperfixations. There was this Cartoon Network show called Code Lyoko, and that shit slaps, okay, to this day. To this day, I still think about it. I think it's on Netflix. I'm probably gonna rewatch it.
If you could reboot any 90s or early 2000s show and cast yourself in it, what's the show and who do you play?
Whoa. Oh my gosh. Ooh, I mean, it would be really cool to like reboot. I mean, no, like, okay, yes and no. Because, okay, so I have very strong feelings about reboots where, to be honest, I think like 90% of the time they're not necessary and we should sort of just like let the original thing stay as it is. But if there was like 100% assurance that I could make like the perfect reboot, it would be very cool to like be in like Buffy and be Willow and be like this lesbian witch. It's the dream.
What's your villain origin story moment from middle school?
Oh God. Villain origin story from middle school. Oh, I remember I had this like best friend that I think later I was like, I probably had a crush on her, but like did not know that at the time. And I remember it was like so I was homeschooled all through like middle and high school, but it was the kind of homeschooling where you go to like a co-op with like other homeschool kids. And so basically I was like around the same little like core group of kids sort of all the way through middle and high school. So these are people that I knew for years. I had this one best friend that I was like super, super close with. And then I remember a new girl joined in like 7th or 8th grade, and she got really close to my best friend. And I just remember we went on this like school trip, and they were like all buddy-buddy, and they were talking, and I was just like at the back of the bus listening to My Chemical Romance. So sad.
If you could time travel to give 16-year-old Shannon one piece of advice, what would it be?
God, good luck. And also, like, it's gonna be okay. Like, you will survive this. I think 16 is when I started going to therapy, which I'm glad that she did. I would say maybe like try to actually apply the things that you're learning to your life. It took me an embarrassing long amount of time to really sort of take those lessons to home. But I also feel like healing happens when it's supposed to happen. And I don't know, I think I would also like tell her like buckle up, because like these like big dreams that you have are like actually gonna happen, which is crazy.
What's your rating of The Sit?
Probably The Sit. I mean, I would say like a 10 out of 10. Like, I'm having a good time. I'm sitting in a comfy chair. Like, that's kind of all you can ask for in this world. Hello? Hello?